want to talk to you about expressions and statements. All right, so by the end of this lesson, I hope that each and every one of you will be able to differentiate between expressions and statements. All right, let's get started. So an expression is something that evaluates to a value. A statement is a set of instructions for the computer to do something. Now, these are really easy to mix up because in programming, they can look really similar a lot of the time. So let's look at some examples. So when I do something like 1 plus 2, that's an expression. It evaluates to the value 3. Can also be like fairly complex things. So like if I have something like 1, 2, and 3, and then I map over these to double them. So I take the number and return the number times 2. So I'm doubling them. That's also an expression. There is no statement in this. I haven't actually told the computer to do something. I have this array, 1, 2, 3, and then after this goofy operation that I'm doing here, this will evaluate to the value 2, 4, 6. So, for example, I can console log it. You can console log any expression. I do that, and there's my 2, 4, 6. This console log statement, that's a statement. That's me telling the computer, I want you to output this code. That's an expression. Or sorry, that's a statement. Me telling it to output something, statement. Me doing this transformation, that's an expression. Here's where this idea gets really powerful. A lot of the places in code that you are expecting to take in a value. So for instance, maybe I have a function that takes in an array of numbers. And I call it print array of numbers. Takes in an array of numbers and does something like array of numbers for each number outputs it. All right, so I have this function, takes in an array of numbers, logs each one of them. So I can call that function and give it an array of numbers, and cool, it works. This will also accept any expression that evaluates to an array of numbers. So if I do that same like doubling thing that I was doing before, I take each number and map over them and turn the number times 2, that works the exact same way. This array of numbers that this is expecting, it can be an actual array of numbers or it can be an expression that evaluates to an array of numbers. Some more examples. Anytime we're doing an if statement, if I say if true, okay, that sort of makes sense, right? And like this wouldn't be terribly useful code because it could never be false. So why is it in an if statement? But this will also take any value that evaluates to true. So think like if 1 plus 1 is equivalent to 2, that'll run. Or if it's equivalent to 3, it won't run. Put that in there. Put an else condition in here. So it didn't run. This expression evaluated to false. That's the big idea there. If that's not a control state, that's not a statement. This is a control structure. There's two statements on this. This one, this one. So console logs are statements. Let's see, add numbers. So I'm going to make a function that takes in two numbers, adds them together. This is a statement. I'm returning something out of the function. This is a statement and an expression. Oops, sorry, not that. If I give it actual numbers. There we go. That is a statement and an expression. Anytime you're executing a function, statement. Also, since this returns a value, it evaluates to 4. So if I console log that, okay, so I get 4 back from that. I can also, come on, stop it. It's exactly the same as 4. This expression evaluates to 4. Any place that's expecting a number, I can use anything that evaluates to a number, not just a number. So it's also a statement because it's telling the computer to execute this function. So some examples of statements. Anything with variable assignment. That's a statement. Not an expression. I can't log that. Well, it's also sort of a statement in that it evaluates to undefined, but mostly a statement. Anytime I'm calling a function, oops, not that. That's a statement. Anytime I'm outputting something, which also is just calling a function, that's a statement. Inside of a function, anytime I'm returning something, that's a statement. Some examples of expressions. Anytime I'm doing math, that's an expression. Anytime I'm doing Boolean math, so something like true or false and true, anything like that, those are all expressions. They ultimately evaluate to like one Boolean value. Other examples of expressions, function calls. So that was a statement and an expression. It's an expression if it returns something. So if this was some function up here, I call some function, that is an expression and a statement because it evaluates to this string. And it's running a function. Some good like smells that something is a statement. I'll just hold on. I'll think of how I want to phrase this. If you can console log it, like inside of this, anything inside of here, that's an expression. You console log expressions. Sign that something is a statement if it changes the state of the application in some way. So that could be outputting something, that could be like assigning a variable, changing a variable, making the computer like change the application some way. Those are statements. Expressions, statements. Console log expressions, you pass expressions into functions. And coolest thing about expressions, if something is expecting a particular data type, like a number, string, whatever, we can either pass in a number, string, Boolean, whatever, or something that evaluates to a number, string, Boolean, whatever. All right, so that is expressions versus statements. Now it's your turn. I want you to come up with 3 expressions, examples, and 3 statements. Three examples of expressions, 3 examples of statements. All right, and I'm going to give you 4 minutes on this. 4 minutes to come up with these 6 examples. Go. All right. So I hope you were able to come up with 3 examples of expressions and 3 examples of statements. So to review some examples of statements, any kind of variable assignment, function calls, returning something from a function, telling it to output something or input something. These are instructions for the computer. That's a statement. Expressions are things that evaluate to values. So any kind of math, any kind of Boolean statements, also calling a function if that function is returning a value. Anything that we can swap this out for like some kind of value. Also, like as a result, simple things like all the primitive values, those also work as expressions on their own too. All right, so if you can do that, then you can absolutely differentiate between expressions and statements. Thank you very much. Cheers.